Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Push Talks with your Push Strategist, myself, Sister Say. We're back for another live recorded interview. For those of you who are not familiar with Push Talk podcast, we help push those to their purpose in business, career, and beyond. So welcome. Make sure you subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you follow us here on YouTube. We are updating episodes every Thursday to help you reach your purpose and what you're called to do. And today, guys, we have one of my girls with me, Jebeh. Welcome, Jebeh. She is the cultural consultant. Okay,
yes.
so
Thank you.
yes, Jebeh, thank you so much for being part of the Push Talk podcast family, joining us today, sharing how you have taken your creativity and just innovated and created a business that is so cool, helping our children really understand culture and how important it is in the education system. So thank you for coming on, Jebeh.
Okay, it's an honor to be a part of your show. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh no! It's. I'm so blessed to get to sit and talk with so many amazing entrepreneurs and career professionals. And at the end of the day, you guys are. I'm not Oprah yet. I will get there.
You will
Okay?
get
I'm gonna
there. Yes.
surpass Miss Oprah. Oprah, you better watch
Yes.
out now. Okay. Look,
Mm-hmm.
but
The new O.
yes, okay, the new. You see here, you are educated way with words, okay? But it's to give you guys giving your time and really helping to use your stories to inspire others is what I love to do. So thank you so much. And I want to kick off this interview so people can hear the amazing things that you do, Jebeh. So I always start off with a bio. I want to read a little bit about your background, and then we'll get started. So I'll jump right into that. Jebeh Edmunds is a mother of two boys, 13 and 10, and a fifth grade teacher at the Duluth Public School District. She's been a classroom teacher for 10 years, okay? Even in the midst of this pandemic, you're still going strong.
Still teaching.
Yes, she's a founder and CEO of Jebeh Cultural Consulting LLC. Previously, Ms. Edmunds was the director of the African American Cultural Center with the Duluth School District for 8 years. Ms. Edmunds has given numerous local and regional presentations related to diversity, African American heritage, cultural competency. She has a bachelor's degree in communication from the University of Minnesota, Duluth, and a post-bachelor's teaching certificate from the College of the St. Scholastica. She graduated with a Master's of Science in Teaching from the College of St. Scholastica in May 2015. Jebeh came to the United States in 1982 on a MITRE J2 visa status with her parents. Everybody knows I am the visa queen, bringing people from abroad. So I love it, Jebeh.
Yes.
You're tying everything in with Push, okay?
Yes. Yes.
And she came with her parents who were escaping the conflict in Liberia by enrolling in the graduate programs in the U.S. Her journey to citizenship took 30 years. Her journey in educating others is a lifelong passion. Oh, I love it. Welcome, Jebeh, again.
Thank
That
you.
was that's this and that. So much layers.
Oh,
So much.
well, even reading it back, I get kind of misty-eyed, like, wow, I did a lot.
You've done a lot, and I love it because people, sometimes you have to actually hear it in that framework to realize I have a lot to be proud of. We're always like, I think sometimes we're so forward focused, and we're like, hey, we have all these things to check off our list to do, that we don't just take time to say, give yourself a pat on the back. 30 years of getting citizenship and then using all you went through to now help inspire and impart wisdom in others and our children is phenomenal. That is just a shero right there in itself. So we're happy to hear your story. I want to jump right into the interview so we make sure we don't miss one question here that I have. So you shared so much in your bio. Can you tell us a little bit of your story and how the cultural consultant was created?
Yes. Well, the story weaves into coming to America as a toddler, right? And being hyper obsessed. I tell you, I was obsessed with knowing my Liberian heritage. And I remember my parents would always tease me like, you don't even remember being there. But I will eat that fufu and soup my mom will cook me. I will ask for Benny seed, the seasoning in it as a toddler, like my parents would just look at me and go, oh my gosh, she is living, breathing who she is. And I had an aunt that was like, you can take the African girl out of Africa, but you cannot leave her there. You know, like she is always going to be a Liberian. It's in my heart. So growing up in Minnesota, you know, with a different name and the first day of school and your teacher's kind of chuckling a little and getting flustered of how to say your name. And then I'm consulting my teachers. I'm consulting my classmates. How did you get your name? And I would always say I was named after my aunt, Chief Jebeh Aj Sese.
Wow. Oh, the connection. Yes. Okay. The connection.
Of the Vai tribe in Liberia. And she was a chief for over 20 years. And my dad would always tell me stories about her and how she, you know, ruled her community and was respected by everybody. And I would always share, there's a song by Miata Fambule, Onai said Jebeh. And so I would literally play that song at any show and tell my teachers would invite me to do when there was, you know, Black History Month or some sort of international day. They'd always call my parents. So the love of my culture, my identity, and sharing it with as many people who will listen, you know, that was basically how I wanted to have my cultural consultancy to feel like. Fast forwarding to, you know, undergrad and college, and when we were talking about the immigration and the visa, having that TPS, my temporary protected status, every single year, going to immigration with my mom every year, trying to work at the mall to get my work permit, you know, the sacrifices we made, the hoops we jumped through. And it got to the point where I was calling up Congress people and saying, because they were putting us on that bill of declining our TPS status my freshman year in college. And I remember my roommate, bless her heart, she was from North Dakota. She was like, Senator so-and-so is asking how your finals went. I'm like, I will let him know if I can take this final, you know. So I was, of course, consulting with my roommates, consulting with my professors, and telling them the story of our struggles in the diaspora. I have always been, you know, saying our country needs to be recognized to the masses, the commonality that we have, the reason why we are a country in Liberia. And so when I fast forward to my life as going back into getting my teaching licensure after, you know, coming up with this wonderful program in Duluth of teaching African cultural studies to kids, blonde hair, blue eye, all walks of life. And they're singing, you know, Chirin, I call you.
Mama.
We don't care. I will do anything to get them to sing these songs. And I remember being in church in Duluth, and this cute little girl, little kindergartner. And my old job, I was supposed to teach cultural studies K through 12, so all the schools. She looked at me across the, you know, the pew, and she goes, Yakune. The girl was speaking Vai because she heard me and she connected. Oh, this Black woman taught me this word. She was so proud. Her mom looked at me kind of queasy, like, what did she say to you? And I, you know, calmed mom down. And so, oh, she must have been in my Liberia lesson, you know, last week. And mom was like, oh, I didn't know
I was like,
this.
oh my gosh, is she offending?
Yeah, offending you. Oh, I'm sorry. She was like quick to, you know, correct her daughter. I said, oh, Yakune. And we were, you know, had that exchange. So even the love of identity, the love of sharing who I am to anybody, students, you know, just to share the positive parts of home, that even though I'm not there physically, home is still in my heart. Home is, you know, that Vai tribe back home. But really pushed me to start the business was I've always wanted to do something of, you know, educating teachers, business people about culture and how to get along with people who don't look like you. That was basically my business idea. And I remember when my father passed about 2 years ago, it really got a shift in me because he was the first cultural consultant that I could see. He was the man that was always ready to educate people. he would talk in front of crowds of people about being a proud Liberian. And I just remember him when I was in the 6th grade. We moved to a new elementary school in Coon Rapids. And he came in and talked about Liberia and the coup and what happened there and the conflict. And he told me this before school. He goes, Jebeh, put your hair tie on before you get to school. And I'm like, why? It's not a big, it's not a holiday. And he's like, just put your hair tie on. So I said, okay. So I wore my hair tie to school that day. And he goes, now, my child, stand up and claim your identity in front of your schoolmates. And to me, that was so powerful, I'll say, because I'm a class in, the only Black girl in my classroom, and me to stand up and to say, yes, I'm proud of who I am. I'm wearing my hair tie for a reason.
Yeah.
And for me, after his passing, it really did tell me, like, yes, he is the one. I feel his presence of, yep, you got to do this. You got to carry that baton of what I instilled in you in the 6th grade to say, claim who you are and show who you are to the masses of why you need to connect your people back home with the people here.
Yes. So, Jebeh, powerful. So many things you said in that. Identity is key. And I love that you're working with young children to teach them, because racism is learned. A lot of these behaviors are learned, and you teaching them how to embrace somebody who doesn't look like them, understanding the fun parts of their culture, what makes them so unique. And then even speaking the language, and, it allows them to say, oh, I want to learn more. When they see people who are different for them, they don't come off to those people saying, oh, no, they're different. Oh, we're better than, I don't want to get to know. I'm afraid, it's more of, I want to get to know. And that's, if we had a world full of children and adults who embrace the difference in one another, where would we be, right? So this is so beautiful. And as a young person growing up, when I moved from New York, we moved to Minnesota, and I left afterwards for college, but I grew up here. And my goodness, it was so shunned upon as an African kid. I was born in America. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but I was African, I'm first. And I mean, I remember kindergarten, African booty scratcher. I mean, it was always on so negative. So people would hide and not want to represent who they are. I remember family members, cousins, we went to school together. They would be ashamed sometimes. And even there's moments where I would struggle, because I'm like, look, I'm not ashamed of who I am. God, I thank God for him giving me confidence. But at the same time, it would be the name thing and just so much. But, then all of a sudden we look now, and it's actually now took so long for this to be embraced. Now people want to know, they're doing their ancestry. They want to know who they are. So the fact, Jebeh, that you walked in that years ago, you wore that hair tie. You said, look, you guys would know what a hair tie is today. You would learn the song. It's so powerful. And it's voices like yours that I really just admire, because you don't follow trends. You follow your own. And that's key, because if it was up to that, you could have been like many other African kids who were, picked upon or, set aside to not think they should embrace who they are. They try to, westernize their way of life, instead of just saying, this is who I am, and take it or leave it, and we can't run from our culture. It's in the foods we eat. It's in the accents that people have, all our beautiful brothers and sisters from different cultures and backgrounds. We can't run from it, but sometimes in this society, it makes us feel like we should be ashamed. So I'm happy for the transition, and I'm more happy that you said, not today. Y'all don't know who I am. Y'all know the pride. Y'all know the Gio. Y'all know, and I'm Nigerian. So I think it's awesome to have somebody on where I can use a little bit of accent and have fun with. So So I know we talked about how the cultural consultant was created. So now, as we know, we're both in Minnesota. We know all that's happened over the last year. Not just with COVID, but just with all the things we've seen happen with George Floyd, the trials going on now. I mean, so much with race. Then you're seeing all these companies now wanting to hire DEI and people to come in and teach. And it's overwhelming sometimes.
Yes.
It's a good thing, but it could be overwhelming, and sometimes it's not authentic. So how has these experiences, Jebeh, really impacted your drive to pursue your business now? You know, I know you played a part in that, but talk a little bit about how this culture and what's going on played a part in that.
Yeah, I feel with the event of, you know, George Floyd's murder, you know, for the world to see, I feel like our state really had that wake up moment. And I feel like companies, oh, trust me, you know, I'm getting calls from people that are like, what can we do? And that's the biggest thing of the what can we do? And with my clients that I've done the implicit bias trainings with, is we all have bias, but we need to check and correct it. You know, and I even suggest that, you know, we are doing our DEI, you know, our diversity, equity, inclusion, our beautiful,
all these
titles. We got our beautiful mission statement, but I said, you got to go one step further. Before you do your agenda, you better read that statement before you start.
Yeah.
You can't just have it on the wall and go, oh, we did it. It's well and good. And then I also say to them, you cannot expect your BIPOC employees of color to be doing the work for you. Hire me. I am on the outside coming in, and I can't, and you know as well as I do, you can relate, you know, working in a workforce setting where things like this come up, you know, and they look at you, Jeb, what do you have for us? You know, you know, supervisors asking me, well, what are you going to do? What lesson plans do you have for Black History Month? And that was well and good when I was the cultural specialist for the district. That was my job. But now as a general ed 5th grade teacher, my job is not to teach Black History Month. I do that. And I don't just do it in February. I spread the whole thing out throughout the year. We're doing AIPI stuff. We're doing Latino, you know, heritage. It does not have to go along with the calendar. But when I'm in a staff meeting, I'm here as a staff member. I'm not here to give you the resources, you know? And so I feel like the shift is open, Jose, but the thing that we need to do now, and what I feel like with my business, consulting with school districts and consulting with non-for-profit and for-profit businesses, is it is all well and good. I'm here to kind of lay the groundwork for you, but it will not get your company any further if you don't put it into practice. And a big thing about putting that into practice is you need to have a lot of self-reflection. You know, you need to, because you know, say when that went down last summer, I have people calling me I haven't heard from 20 years ago, DMing me, and I'm sitting here going, girl, last time we met, you know, before Facebook, you know, now all of a sudden, what books do you do I need to order? What books do I need to do that? And I was like, Google is free. I haven't talked to you.
You can pay. How about, you know?
Pay me. That's when I was like, yeah, Jebeh Cultural Consulting, it's coming.
It's time.
It's time to not give away my advice, my experiences for free. When you are not coming to me as a friend I've known. Oh, we've been buddies for 20 years. Let me check on you and see how are you doing. It was so disingenuous. It was more of, how are you doing? But can you help me with X, Y, and Z? How are you doing? I have kids, and what do I talk to them about this? And to me, it felt more like, wow, we haven't had that relationship since we were on campus. And I know you are seeing it, but now you're looking at me as the, background knowledge. Jebeh, I remember her. Let's see if we can connect with her and do that. You know, and you didn't talk to me years about anything, no life events, but now all of a sudden, I remember her from the dorms.
And that's it, Jebeh. And this is so good to touch on just for my and just for my entrepreneurs hearing that, like, people don't value the skills and knowledge we have, so sometimes we give it away for free, not knowing you're showing us you made a business out of this. You took the knowledge, the culture that you were embedded through your father and your family. You researched, you learned, you expanded on it. You got some training, and now you're able to actually have people pay you to teach them. And I think sometimes we become so familiar with what our gifts and talents are that we just think we should give it away for free. No, we're in the age where people need specialists. We don't have time to go back and learn certain things. You bring in somebody who can help open your eyes. So I love that you recognize that and said, nope, now it's time for cultural consultant Jebeh Edmunds, because people, when it comes to our gifts, we have to sometimes put a value on it because people won't. So I think that it's so important that you did that and you launched this business, and that you're really helping companies, because Jebeh, there's so many that it's such a great business, because, and I love too that you saw that need and you quickly responded to it, because a lot of time we'll sit on our gifts, we'll sit on skills we have, and it's like, no, and you're like, I'm trying to get out of this financial situation. Well, your millions are right in your head and it's ready to be applied. And that's what you did. You saw what was going on in our culture and you said, let me create a way to help. And I love it. And you mentioned the training that you did. And can you repeat the name of that? You said it was a training that helped to remove bias.
Well, implicit bias training is what I did with this particular organization. Just explaining what that is. And it dealt with a lot of self-reflection on themselves. And how I do my training is more kind of like a journal, something that they can do. It's not like a share out what you got, share your feelings, because when I'm gone with my training, they got to deal with whatever's going on. So a lot of that ambiguity I have into it. So it's more of listening to my stories, my experiences, me sharing out kind of, my shoes of this is what happened to me in this situation, and I would always give stuff that wasn't even that long ago. I remember, one of my stories was, going in, just graduated from, UMD, got my communication degree, and my grandma's like, "Well, you got your degree to talk?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "What is that? What do I tell my friends?" I said, "Lie. I don't know." I was so happy I graduated. I was like, "Communication, what is that? You talk, you comment all the time." I said, "Hey, grandma, so now you know." So I had this, big hopes, big dreams, graduated, and my husband, we were dating at the time. He is an accountant, and so he said what he did was, going in for an informational interview. There were some public relation firms in town, and so I was like, okay, they weren't hiring, but I wanted to have them look at my resume, just to give me some tips on what to do, out of college. What can I do to improve myself? I've always been a lifelong learner. Like, how can I do to solve this problem? Really good. And there was one office, PR office. I went in, nice pinstripe gray suit from the Limited girl, like, Limited. That was a spot.
Limited and Express. That was the
that was it. So I was dressed up, ready to go. I had my, little resume, and I was waiting in the lobby forever. 45 minutes and no secretary there. So, your gut is like, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone, his feet were up on his desk, and he saw me across the room, but he didn't say anything. Then he did his conversation, and then, he called me in, and I was like, oh, I'm here for my, informational interview. He heard my voice and he remembered my voice because I called and had an appointment. And then he looked at my resume, and the story. He looked at me, he goes, yeah, you're not meant for this town. He's like, why don't you go back to Minneapolis, where you were from, and work with other people that look like you?
What?
And I had,
oh my goodness, Jebeh.
It gets better, Ose. It gets better, Ose, because as I look at God, I looked at him like that pretty woman, big mistake, huge. And I walked out of his office. And my first job out of college, I became a weekend producer at ABC News up here in Duluth.
Mhm.
And,
Wow.
it paid. I felt like I got paid more with the, the business card, ABC News reporter. I wrote him on the back of my business card, and I wrote him and sent it to him in the mail. And I said, I'm still here.
Oh,
And when I
wow.
became the director of the cultural center, sent him another business card.
You better do
I'm
it.
still here.
Yeah.
Girl, that man was out of his business.
Wow.
And I'm
You see how
still
it works?
standing.
You still stay.
Look at God.
And now you're not only just standing, you are doing it on your own thing
I'm
without
doing
a pay,
it.
on somebody's payroll,
Yes,
My
yes.
goodness, Jebeh. I mean, these are the stories that people need to hear and know it is real. And
It's real.
I can't
It's
believe,
so real. And
like,
he thought he was doing me a favor. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And to
yeah.
me, it was like, you have
Wow.
no idea who you talking to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because now
You can't tell
I'm
me
so
no.
happy you did that because that probably ate him away to realize,
Mhm.
and you're out of business, sir. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm just like,
Don't tell,
wow.
especially to a young person,
Yeah.
they putting themselves out there to
Yeah.
say, I'm first time in the professional world, what can I
Mhm.
do?
Yeah.
And he was like, nah, not
Wow.
working. I said, okay, you
Oh, he
don't
don't
know
know you.
me. He didn't know me.
And it's,
Yeah.
and it's and that leads to a question that I had for you. Just how do you do it? Minneapolis people think, oh, where is that? They joke around, but you're not in at least the Twin Cities like Minneapolis, St. Paul,
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's somewhat diverse.
Yeah.
You
I
are
remember
in
my mom was like, are you sure?
Yeah, I'm like, girl, you in Duluth,
We
child. I
are
mean, I know there's diversity there, but you are all,
Yeah.
there's times I go to places here and I'm the only one, and I'm like, okay, now it could be, but it's nowhere compared to what you probably go a whole week sometimes, and I'm just so how has it worked with you, just
Yeah.
making that transition, teaching and educating these sensitive topics there. I know you have stories for days,
Oh, stories for days, love. I feel like if it hadn't been for my self identity, my self worth, I wouldn't last up here.
Yeah, yeah.
And, my husband was born and raised in Duluth. His family's all here. I mean, my boy's great grandmother, she's 100 and she's still
Wow.
here hanging
Wow.
out. So for us, it feels it's his roots. That's why it's, kept me here with his side of the family. And we're not far from my mom in the Twin Cities. So that's great. And my sister's family. But that one is good. It's a good question because thinking about it, I remember my grandma Agnes, bless her heart. And I remember asking my mom when we were in the Twin Cities, we grew up in Coon Rapids, and we were the only, there was one other African girl up the street, but that was it. So I remember asking my mom, I was like, why are we here? My mom was a first grade teacher in South Minneapolis.
Wow.
And she retired out of that district. And I was like, can't we come with you? Can't we just give you a car and go with you all the time? And my mom was like, she kind of looked at me, and my grandma was like, look, no matter where we put you, you will still be Jebeh. You will still be Black. So what's the point? You know what I mean? It was kind of like, this is who you are. This is the school we pick for you to be at. You better go. And so for me, to move further north, and my mom joking like, you sure, she didn't want me to be the only, but what really helped me was we had a strong Black student association here. We had Festus was our, he was from Ghana. He was our student advisor. And when we met him at orientation, my mom kind of breathed a little. We had African professors right here. I'm still good friends with them. So it kind of gave me that little village that I needed on campus. And my dad's best friend was in Hibbing, an hour and a half away. And so he was kind of on standby. If anything, we got Uncle Sano up there, he will come and help you. So that kind of helped my parents kind of be at ease. And then when I met Andy, it was home for me here. But like you were saying, I'm the only. I'm at Target. People are like, oh, how's it going? Da, da, da. Like I could wear my mask and people can still know it's me. There's
Oh
no,
Lord.
and for my hubby, born and raised here, people are like, oh, Edmunds, do you know Jebeh? He's like, yes, she's my wife,
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things I had to ask him, how are you doing? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm like your Stedman, like,
Yes. Oh my
but,
goodness.
but I have so many stories because on the flip side,
Mhm.
I'm the only African American teacher in Duluth. And
Yeah.
so for me, I'm on the website, two different outfits. So it's not like I'm two different people. I'm on there. But for me, I want them to see my face. I want them to see I exist in
Yeah.
a role that is not that stereotypical, oh, that's what they do. That's who they are.
Mhm.
And I will never
Yeah.
forget, it was the fall of 2019, right
Mhm.
before my dad passed. I
Mhm.
had a student teacher, older gentleman was my student teacher. And I love to get student teachers that go back to school and become teachers. That was my passion. I went back to school when my oldest was a toddler. And
Mhm.
so I always look for those teachers to, candidates to come in my classroom because they have that camaraderie, they have that drive, like I really want this career.
Mhm.
And he was, working with a small group,
Mhm.
and I was at the board with my other group. And we had this little bucket, for parents helping, volunteer parents. Oh, we'll cut your snowflakes and we'll do these things for teachers to kind of help cut their time on prepping. And
Yeah.
so I put my little pile in this bucket for the
Mhm.
parent helper, and I wrote, Edmunds, and you can't tell my ethnicity with my
Yeah.
Scandinavian last and married name.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this old mom, she walked upstairs to my room. I'm working with my group. My, student teacher is working with his small group. She
Mhm.
walks right to him and talking about implicit bias, right?
Yeah.
She
Yep.
expected the white male to be the
Yep.
teacher, right?
Mhm.
So
Mm.
she walks beelines to him and she goes, oh, Mr. Edmunds, here are your things that you needed stapled.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
looked at her and he goes, oh, no, I'm not Mr. Edmunds. This is Mrs. Edmunds at the
Wow.
board. And
Wow.
she looked at me and she goes, oh, I didn't expect you to be the teacher.
Wow.
And I looked
Wow.
at her and I said, well, I didn't expect you to volunteer. And
That
I have
was
no shame.
good.
Oh, yeah. And these 10-year-olds are saying, awkward. And the
Yeah.
thing is, she didn't realize her son was in
Wow.
my class rotation at the time. And
Wow.
so her own son was just looking at her like, what?
Yeah.
And she didn't realize it. Oh my goodness. I was like,
Wow.
okay, I got her. So every day, every time I would look in my cupboard, I had stuff from my previous grades I taught. I
Yeah.
just put in the bucket with my name on it.
Yeah.
I said, you'll be working for
You
me
gonna
this
be
year.
working. You gonna be working
And
for
she
Mrs.
saw my face talk
Edmund.
about, I didn't expect you to teach. Now you'll be
Yeah.
seeing that. Now you'll be
Yeah.
seeing me teaching. Oh,
Yeah.
I had stuff I didn't even need laminated. I gave her work to do, honey. And she was like, wow.
This time she'll know
Oh,
what it's like working
how?
for it's
Hmm.
for somebody she didn't expect to be
She didn't
working for.
expect to be working for. And
My
I
goodness.
can't tell you how many times where I'm talking to my colleagues
Mhm.
and how some of them were,
Mhm.
when I went and got my master's degree. I'll never forget. I had my
Mhm.
little first graders wear my little gown, and I had
Oh.
them hold my diploma cover.
Mhm.
I didn't have the diploma in there, but I had them
Mhm.
hold it to say, this is what you can do too. Look at Mrs.
Oh.
Edmunds. If I can do it, you can do it. And
Yeah.
I had a colleague say, and he was like, why are you holding their why are you, what did he say that really struck with me? Why are you giving them, because it was a predominantly African American building I was in
Mhm.
predominantly in poverty in town. And
Mhm.
a colleague was like, why are you giving them hope? And I just looked at
Mhm.
him and I said, oh, honey, this is the
Mhm.
expectation. I don't care if
Yeah.
they graduate from trade school.
Yeah.
This is the expectation
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
have for
Wow.
all of our students,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Wow.
And it really did strike a chord with me because,
Mhm.
it made it sound like they would not strive for greatness. And who am I to say I
Mm.
they can't get that far? Who am I to
Exactly.
say they can't? I want that child to come to me years from now and go,
I'm
remember you made me take a picture holding your
yeah.
diploma?
Yeah.
Remember that you would
Uh,
say you're studying homework like we're doing?
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the types of
Wow.
things of me in my position now as an
Mhm.
educator during the day. My day job
Mm.
is trying my hardest to show my students that, yes, we exist.
Yeah,
Black
yeah.
teachers exist.
We exist,
We're
even
not
where
unicorns.
it's hard to see, even in Minneapolis, Twin Cities
Yeah,
area, it's hard to
New
see, but
York,
we
yeah,
exist.
we
Like,
exist,
yep.
and I
Oh,
feel
wow.
like a lot of those implicit biases, that
Mhm.
woman that walked into my room, she didn't expect to see a black woman
Mm,
teaching because
mm,
she never had that exposure when she was a child. So
yep,
for me,
yep.
reflecting back, it's like, okay, don't get mad at at
Mm,
her. Get mad at the system. Get mad
yeah,
at how come there aren't black teachers
yep,
in our universities
yep, yep,
to
yep,
say, oh yeah, this is the norm. This is it.
yep.
Even white male teachers, because even
Mm,
my stepfather is an educator too, and
mm,
there's not very many male teachers as well. And
yeah,
so for that, you also have to say, what's wrong here? How come we're
mm,
not getting more groups of people, more walks of life in
mm,
the educational field? And
yeah,
with my passion of just sharing that with businesses
mm,
and with districts, it's like, you know,
mm.
I feel like I am a unicorn. I had one
Yeah.
little black one little black boy came in. He was new from Chicago, and
Mhm,
I was working in my classroom. The kids were at recess, and
mhm.
he stopped in his tracks and he looked at me. Like the M&Ms and
Yeah,
Santa.
that's how
And
it
he's
is. Like,
looking at it like, what?
you get so
Yeah,
excited when you see a
yeah,
black teacher. You're like, oh my gosh, yes, there'll be
yes.
some, and
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where it's like to let our kids see us doing things outside of, and nothing's wrong with being the teacher's assistants. Nothing's wrong with being a
Nothing.
paraprofessional. I thank God for the amazing people of color
Yes.
who do that.
In the
But it's like,
classroom.
let them see
Yes.
teachers too. Let there be a balance of everything, and that's what we
Yes.
hope to achieve. And
Even
Jebeh,
principal of a
I'm
building,
telling you, yes. Okay, the
Yeah.
superintendent, I was so happy in
Mhm.
the district I'm in when there was a black superintendent. It was just like, yes, let them see. And
Totally.
he
Mhm.
implemented so many great things that apply to people of color. And sometimes it takes somebody who is, in those shoes to be able to really help others
Yes.
know what we need.
Yes, big
You
time.
can study a group of people. You can, go in their villages, live with them, learn how they do things. But sometimes it's not till you're in that person's shoes,
That's
because
it.
there's only so much you can gain until you walk in their shoes daily. So
Yes,
I'm
totally.
just you help me, Jebeh, see what it is to be passionate and know when you're walking in your purpose, because I
Yes.
hear it in your voice, I hear it in your stories, I hear how you take your stories and those that should make us angry. Instead, you say, "Oh no, I'm gonna cook your soup and teach you a thing
You
or two."
see, I will cook your
So
soup.
I know.
Yes. We
So
got to
I
get
thank you
merch
so
on
much.
that one. Yes.
Yes, I'm telling you,
Yes.
but I love, and for the listeners, like this
Mhm.
is when you're doing what you love. When people always ask that question, I don't know what my purpose is, or trying to figure it out. You know it when even things that should have offend you on the journey, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna take that and spin it, or that's gonna motivate me, or I'm gonna be up all night writing that book. When they talk, that's when you're doing what you love, because you're just
Mhm.
motivated no matter what obstacles you face. So for
Yes.
listeners, this is an example for you to think about what makes you feel like I'm going to keep going. What brings this excitement, like we hear out of Jebeh, and use that as a starting point and build on it.
Yes. And
So,
the biggest thing for me,
mhm,
because I created those, over 50 lesson plans on my
mhm,
website for teachers to download, and I picked
mhm,
books that are culturally appropriate.
yeah,
And I think that's the biggest push on that,
mhm,
because when they're talking about Black studies, Black excellence, they refer to books and titles that are 30 plus years old. They
mm,
don't
mhm,
represent our students now.
yeah, yeah,
And the books that I have found and curated
mm,
the lessons to go with,
mhm,
it's it 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 answers that question on, okay, where do I begin? Oh, she's
mm,
got it right here. Where's this
good,
book?
mm,
This is where you can find it. And I feel like
mm,
when we're talking about, white teachers trying to fill and get cultural, lessons, they
mhm,
a lot of them are very eager. A lot of them want to do it. A lot
yeah,
of them
yeah,
want to share, but
mhm,
they're like you're saying, they're afraid of offending someone. They're afraid
yeah,
of offending their students because that's not their intent.
mhm,
But we also have to tell our educators what you have in that bucket from
Yeah.
1994 does
Yeah.
not work
Doesn't
anymore.
apply.
I love me some Ezra Jack Keats, but you know
The-
what? If I see another snowy day, I will just go off.
yeah. Yep.
Like
Yep.
Peter's Chair. I love
Yep.
that book, but it's
You got to find
2021
something
now.
relevant. Yep. I'm telling you.
We
And
don't
that's
need to see your sister naked butt. I mean, it's like, come on
yeah.
now, we're ready. We got more titles out there that we
Yeah.
can use. And I feel like, you know, the intention is there. They want to do it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about, like you said, not being in other people's shoes, you
Mhm.
better find the right shoe to share.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
Yep.
you can't just come in and go, here's Africa. And you
Yep.
have the kids looking at you going, no, that's not. That's
Yep,
not
yep.
it.
These kids now, they will Google and be like, the Africa I know, I saw some. You showing me huts. I saw on the Niger
Yes.
movie that they
Yes.
have man. You know,
Yes.
we have to keep up with the
We
times, the
have to
digital
keep
world.
up with the
Yeah,
time.
yep.
And even one of my lesson plans says they have cities in Africa. Because literally a teacher asked me that. They have
Wow,
cities in Africa, and that was less
wow,
than 10 years ago. And it's
wow,
like,
wow.
and you got your degree where? That's
I'm
what I
telling
wanted
you,
to ask her. But
it's
yeah,
scary. It's
it's
scary.
scary,
I'll tell you, that's why
Mhm,
it's so needed, like your
mhm.
business and what you're doing, because people just need to understand that the world is not just what they've been exposed to. You have to go out there, you have to look, you have to research, and we have Google. I mean, come on now.
Google
There's
is
so
free.
much resources.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know there was cities in Africa, then you clearly have been underneath a rock.
Big
And
time.
you'll be surprised how much what I've learned in this part of the country is people just stick to what they know. They don't really
Yes.
care. They're comfortable with who they are, what they know. They're really
Oh,
not
yes.
scared to learn more. But now it's being forced on them because people that look like me are moving into your cities.
Yes.
They're qualified to get these jobs, and we're pushing our way in. So you better
Yes.
either make room or you're gonna be making your way out, because somebody
Yes.
your job. As much as we are still trying to diversify the workforce, now with all these things that's happened, people are starting to recognize it's important to have Black and brown voices, BIPOC community in their organizations, because
Yes.
otherwise they're never going to be the change that they
They're
see
not.
and that they need. So
Yeah. And,
I'll tell
and
you.
and another thing too, I was telling some of my clients was that the excuse of, well, we're just not diverse, Jeb. We're
Mhm.
diverse.
Yep,
We
yep,
exist.
yep, yep,
We
mhm,
exist. We are at your
yep,
church. We are,
yep,
we're in your neighborhood, literally
yep,
walking our dogs in your
yep,
neighborhood, you
yep,
know,
yep, yep.
and so there's no excuse of
No,
we're
it's
this homogenous town. It's
yeah,
not, no, we
yep.
exist.
We
And
exist.
and the thing is, they fall back on that
Mhm,
as a way of saying, well, we just don't have them here, the
mhm.
BIPOC populations.
Very
So
true.
why should I have my, openings out? Because the openings are there, Jeb, but
Yep,
no one's calling, no one's looking.
yep,
And then I'm giving them that question of, well, where are you posting that would
yes,
be in
yep,
these things?
yep,
Are you just going to that track because that's the way you went through to get to
yep,
your story? I
mhm,
tell them, I said, I have had multiple changes in my career. I wanted to be a
yep,
journalist, and then I came into education, and now
yep,
I'm going into this cultural
mhm,
consultancy.
yep,
But my path was never from here to here to here. I'm like, you're
mhm,
going to be shutting out a whole group of people
yep,
that have their talents that
yep,
would be great for your company and organization.
yep,
But we're
yep.
right here. And
I'll tell
that's the
you.
biggest thing is, that feeling of, don't close the door if you're not willing to open it, and
I'm
I feel
telling
like
you.
that's a lot of it
Um,
going up.
I'll
Nobody here, just close the door because
Yep.
we don't have
Did
anybody here. Yeah.
That's it. They just don't expose people of color. And another big thing I've learned is people of color, you have them in entry level positions, but you're making sure you put barriers so they can't get higher. So you're not
Yes.
creating pipeline mentors and I'll say now, I see
Mhm.
some companies who are doing awesome at that. They're like, look,
Mhm.
we're providing mentors, we're providing groups to support with leaders, and I love it. So this is not to say that every person who's
Yeah,
non
yeah.
BIPOC is not trying to change the narrative.
Yes.
There's
Agreed.
some
Yep.
wonderful people I know of,
Mm-hmm.
who are really like, we want to see, inclusion in, the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see it throughout, but it's just to say we have to start seeing that from people who don't look like us, and people who don't look like us being the ones to kind of be at the forefront saying, look, it's time for this. So
Yes, there's
I love
time for
it. Oh,
this.
Jebeh, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, time flies. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're already at the end of the interview, and I didn't even get to other
Oh,
questions. But I have to ask just a
sure,
few more.
sure.
So bear with me, because
Yeah, yeah.
I think that you took your creativity, you took your skill set, and you created this business. And I want to know, for those who are listening that are sitting on their creative gift or talent as yours, why is it important for them to step up, step out on faith, and to walk it out?
Uh, I, I see my boys. My children are watching,
Mhm.
and for me to show me at night after I feed them.
Mhm.
Upstairs it's mom's time to do her, Jabrand, we nickname it, my brand meeting,
Yeah.
to show them that I can do it. I'm putting myself out there,
Mhm.
and it's really vulnerable to put
Mhm.
yourself out there. It is
Yeah.
very nerve-wracking. I
Mhm.
get butterflies just thinking about, doing a YouTube channel and
Yeah.
doing it, and
You
and
got this.
you have to,
Yeah.
because your kids are watching you, and even if you don't have children,
Yeah.
you're always going to have that question in your mind, like, why? What would it
Yeah.
have been if I'd done that?
Yeah.
What would it have been if I just give a little taste and see how it goes, and I feel like, working my education job right now until, I can really, move this up.
Mhm.
It's really showing me that, wow, I didn't know I had it in me. Wow, this is going
Yes.
faster than I thought. Wow, I'm booking a
Yeah.
client, and if I would have,
Yes.
and if I wouldn't have put
Mhm.
myself out there,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been able to help that person. I wouldn't been able to help that
Yeah.
organization. And for
Yeah.
me, my why about the whole thing is I'm
Mhm.
helping my community like my namesake did, 20 years before I was born. So for me, I feel like this is my calling to help my people, help my people in my community, help my people worldwide, help those students that are reading a book that, hey, they can identify with, because
Yeah.
it's not a 40-year-old book, that their
Yeah.
teachers have.
Yeah.
Those are the things that is positive. It's fun.
Yeah.
I, like I said, with my little darlings, my cherubs up here in Duluth, when I'm teaching, I have my little kids sending me emails of them African dancing to Prince Nico
Wow.
happy birthday to you, and they're making
Yeah.
fufu because they're reading my recipe,
Oh my goodness,
making
so
fufu
funny.
and soup, so little
Yeah.
things that I can
Mhm.
share about myself,
Yeah.
is my purpose every time I wake up, because it's dispelling those myths, dispelling those stereotypes of
Mhm.
who African people are.
Yeah.
We love our families. We go to our places of worship. We are neighbors. We pay our taxes.
Yeah.
You know, we we have our jobs, and
Yeah.
like you were saying, we're
Mhm.
more than just entry level.
Yep.
We have, a pedigree of
Yep.
our skills, and especially, as Africans in diaspora in Minnesota, like,
Yeah.
oh honey, we are here to stay,
Yes. Oh,
and
yes.
you
Mhm.
better be on board, or it's going to go past you, because
Exactly.
we've had now what, 2-3 generations now since the
Yeah.
coup that have come,
Yeah.
and we're the fabric of Minnesota, and the fact
Mhm.
that teachers need to understand and research,
Yeah.
the Liberian way, the Nigerian, the Sierra Leonean way
Mhm.
of how families are perceived, how families
Mhm.
gather together, how students learn, how you
Yeah.
talk to a
Yeah.
Liberian parent,
Yes.
because what I do. You don't call a
Yeah.
Liberian parent and go, don't panic. What?
Yes. Okay. I'm telling you, you
Do
better
not
know how
say
to.
don't panic. You need to
Yeah.
know how to talk to,
Yeah.
immigrant families when you're communicating. And I feel
Yeah.
like my purpose in the cultural consulting is to kind of make a format for teachers to say, this is how you interact with different groups of people.
Yeah.
Because I love this quote by Brene Brown, is like, I'm not here to be right, I'm here to get it right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the biggest push that I'm trying to do for my clients and for my students is,
Yeah.
we have to know this is our world now,
Yeah.
it's changed, but it's kind of like too, I'll say, it's like, welcome to the party. We've
Yeah.
been here.
I'm
We've
telling
been
you,
here.
you better get with the program, and
Get with the
your
program.
your
Yeah.
services they're so vital in Minnesota, but just throughout the country. Like the
Yes.
immigrants, like we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. We've went through our trials. I know so many immigrants who struggled the last 4 years prior to a new administration. And we're not going anywhere. We have so much tenacity. We have so much fight, and that's again why I just love the opportunity I've had to work with people from so many different walks of life and
Amazing.
countries to learn and understand the beauty in just different cultures. So I'm so it's a pleasure to have you as the cultural consultant on. You help to bring so much light to things, and my listeners can really understand how you can take these, like, it's like, I love the skills you took that you already had, and you started from a young toddler, and then wearing your hair tie in school, and this was already part of you. So it helps to show a lot of times when you're trying to figure out what it is that you should do, what is it you're called, it's been part of you. You just go back and look at the child. What has been that string that's you throughout, and you'll find that special gift is and what you're called to do. And of course, for those who can't figure it out, hit me up as your push strategist.
I know, yes,
To help
you've been
you
inspiring
walk
so
out your
many.
purpose. So I want to know, Jebeh,
Yeah.
share, where can we find you? Share your social media so I can put it up so people can write it down.
Yes.
They need support from the cultural consultant. Even people think people of color need sometimes a cultural consultant. How to
Absolutely.
you're going into a new workplace. Maybe you're used to being around your own culture. You don't know how to interact in environments with those who are Caucasian. This service is not just for
It's not just for white Americans.
yeah,
No,
it's for
everyone.
everybody. So tell us where we can find you.
Yes.
I would love to put that up so we know on social media. Are you on Instagram or your Facebook?
Yes, I'm
What's your
all
story?
over the place. I'm on Instagram at Jebeh01, on Facebook and Pinterest, it's at Jebeh Cultural Consulting, Twitter, Jebeh01. I have a podcast, a cultural curriculum chat with Jebeh Edmunds.
Of course, you guys go follow her. I've listened. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And so you're on IG, you said Jebeh01, and then you're on Pinterest as well as
Facebook at Jebeh Cultural Consulting. Yep.
Okay.
And LinkedIn, Jebeh Edmunds on LinkedIn, and Twitter, Jebeh01. And then my website, JebehEdmunds.com. You can see my staff development list of trainings that I do. You can shop and buy my curriculum lesson plans. And you don't have to be a classroom teacher. I walk it through step by step. So even if you are wanting to do something at home for your own children, homeschooled parents, you're welcome to do that. It's at EDMU. And
thank you. Sorry. Okay. Thank you for that correction. Okay, EDMU, perfect. Thank you.
And then you can definitely download it right away and purchase your book, and then get to it. I've got lots of stuff, lots of holidays, lots of natural resource lesson plans for our kids so they can know. And I'm writing more. I'm writing as much as I can.
We're ready. You guys see all the places you can find Jebeh. Follow her, support this business. It's so needed in this time. And of course, and your podcast. Tell them your podcast once more, the name of it, so we can have it.
It's called the Cultural Curriculum Chat with Jebeh Edmunds, and you can find me on Spotify, iTunes, and I think iHeartRadio too. So
awesome. So you have so many resources out there. I've listened to your podcast, and it's definitely given me some laughs and just hearing the stories. And I'll tell you guys, Jebeh's awesome. So make sure you follow her, support her, and let's just continue to work and move towards our purpose, you guys. Thank you so much, Jebeh, for joining us. I know we went a little over time, but it's just so important to really be able to share and take this opportunity to help others, really understand what the journey is your business and what we do. So I'm so thankful you're able to get on. For those of you who need more support, you're trying to figure out what's next, trying to get to that purpose, again, hit me up, pushstrategist.com. Make sure, again, you subscribe, you follow, you don't want to miss out. Until next time, guys, keep pushing towards your purpose. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you next episode.